Hello, and no, I am not in the laundry room. I'm in the living room. That's where I am. So, just coming to you, just wanted to connect with everyone because I know how harsh this energy is and how kind of psychotic the energy seems to be. And um, it is something, that's for sure. So this is something, as an astrologer lover, this week is bringing us some of the most significant astrological shifts of the year. It's Uranus entering into Gemini. This is giving us our first taste of powerful new cycle, and it's going to really fully unfold next year in 2026 when it's full time in Gemini. Right now, it's just dipping its toes into Gemini, and then it's going to retrograde back. So this is going to be from 2026 to 2033. Uranus in Taurus. So this is going to bring us a slow pent up changes, and with Uranus in Gemini, and it speeds up everything. It's disruptive and it reveals everything to do with fire and air, right? Even though Uranus rules Aquarius, this is very much a it's an electrical planet. Like, it just gives off, electrical vibes. That's why you find nervous things going on with people, and, sometimes it's feeling very, difficult to ground because you have that air energy coming in. Neptune, retrograding, at 2 degrees. It hasn't moved off that degree, won't for a bit. And then Pluto and Neptune doing their little sextile together. And, I mean, that's air and fire, just this just is magnitude, and, of course, we have a full moon coming up in Capricorn that wants to ground it all out, and, on that note, if you wanted a full moon reading, please let me know, um, and I'll try and get it out to you. It's been, an interesting day for myself personally. Um It's been where, I've been a little bit, as my mother would say, "A little bit off," and, just feeling with this transit has really set me into kind of a spin, let's put it that way. Haven't been feeling my best today. Been busy trying to get, as much done as I can, but, there's yeah, it's just been a bit crazy. I've had this kind of feeling before, and that was just after a new moon with a Gazini with Mercury. And it's not a fun feeling. Um, and at that time I ended up going to the hospital and they couldn't find anything. And I just had my blood pressure checked because they were checking the arteries in my legs, and everything seemed to be fine. So to say the least, I might have to spend a few days probably taking some time off, because, just haven't been up to par, let's put it that way, and I hate sitting still. Sitting idle is it's a difficult thing, unless you're absolutely forced to do it, and I understand when people say it's hard to sit idle. And it is, hard to sit idle. I wasn't going to say too much to Steve, but he kinda like, "What's going on? You're not looking that great." And he's like, "Oh, well, I went outside because I was just not feeling well." Um, I ended up, thinking that, it was my bra, so I took my bra off because I thought maybe that was a little bit too tight, but it's, yeah, just taking just that electrical energy in with Gemini, it really, just like boom, hit, and it hit pretty hard today. So, yeah, so it's just like taking a time out right now. Going back to this Gemini Uranus energy, it's historical. and it's coincided with major turning points: the American Revolution, Civil War, WW2. But this is unlike, I think this timeline's unlike the other instances in history. Uranus will be making supportive aspects to Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto, offering some rare potential for creative breakthroughs, cooperation, if we choose awakening over chaos. And I think that's the whole thing, is choosing this awakening, allowing ourselves to step into it. Um, I've been told I'm coming through this, like, what is it? Like an epiphany, coming through this transformation of change, and it's one that you kind of like wonder, like, okay, then just let it happen. Bring it on, baby. You know, just bring it on. And yeah, it's the thing is that, yeah, it sounds great. Choose the awakening, with the chaos, but then you feel either or is both chaotic and crazy. Awakening is never, I don't think it's ever a one that just opens up gently. I think it's just one that brings in a different type of chaos into your life that you weren't expecting, and whatever that might be. It might even be health, and how you deal with your um health is one, right? And it can bring in different types of chaos with that. And it could be where some people can't handle it, which would lead to other things, that people would unalive themselves, right? Or it could be where people are just wanting to go and they want to have a quick fix, or they want to experience something in a quick way, and then they dive into things they shouldn't be diving into. And in doing that causes other issues within itself, right? And that's where you comes into a whole nother area of craziness, that can unfold during those times if you decide to go down a road that you don't know too much about, and then you decide to dive right into it, and fiddle with things that you shouldn't be fiddling with. Or playing with things that you shouldn't be playing with, and that's where this can lead, where people get inquisitive. You're going to find out a lot of things are going to be coming out about, um the cult. You're going to find out a lot of things. People are, I mean, we're living in it. I mean, just looking at the news this last week, we are definitely living in an alien world. you know with some of the cray cray of information that's coming out, um with what was it, the young boy who's he was making a trip to go to every continent and to raise money. And I guess he was flying from, where was he flying from? I think Argentina, and then he was flying over to Antarctica. I- But supposedly had plane trouble, landed on this little strip, and was arrested. And the thing is, it's causing a little bit of a controversy, because it's the Chilean government that arrested him. And yeah, so there's that. That's sort of an odd thing that's going on. The Diddy thing. The DOJ drops a massive Epstein cover up claims, with no client list and everything else. Just craziness. Like, this is like coming in, and it's right in front of your face. More information about, the elixir issues and people having problems with the elixir. And it's just one craziness after another craziness. And it's just like, it's not just, like, we thought the last few years were crazy with a lot of information coming in. I think we're going to be inundated with even more, with all of this, transitions that are coming in. But this is, I think, kind of like a dress rehearsal, and it's inviting us to resolve our inner and collective tensions before they erupt. And I feel like that's what my body is trying to tell me is that, okay, you got to take some time out right now. You got to just back away and just let things go. And that probably will be I probably won't be posting as much and stuff as usual. And I did do a post out, a video for my group, my Sacred Series group. You got your a post out today and a video that I sent out for you all. Hopefully we can meet on Sunday. We'll see how everything is going with that. um, but this is about keeping moving and keep your energy moving and communicate honestly with what's going on and act locally to help shape the future before it solidifies. We have a full moon. That full moon in Capricorn is just, it's this lunation highlights questions of responsibility, sustainability, what structures in your life are solid and what needs to change to support your long-term well-being and integrity, right? So what is that? What does that look like? What does that mean to you? And I think that's one of the things, when you start looking at it, where do I need to back off um in your own life, and where do you have to just sort of let things go? And I feel it's one of those things of just, yeah, um not uh feeling fabulous today. Like, I'll get points during my day where today was like this morning I was up, I was going, took the DOG out for a WALK. Can't say that out loud because she's sitting beside me and she'll freak out. And so did that, and did my posting meditation, felt great about the meditation, about fear, and that's the whole thing. It's like, no, I don't want to step into that fear, I don't want to step into that. And I did a huge cleansing of my home. I've been cleansing it a lot lately, doing a lot of extra protection. I feel like there's been, because I feel sometimes, you can sort of feel like there's something being thrown at you or something, blocking you. So I do. I just did a huge cleansing, and I feel like a lot of releasing and trying to release things, and that could be that me, with attachments that may be upon me or may not be upon me, however you want to look at it, may cause issues because sometimes when you're trying to detach from whatever you feel is there, sometimes it kind of sucks back on you and it can make you feel ill. It can make you feel like it wasn't not a panic attack, but it can just give you a lot of pain where you're not expecting the pain to be, or weirdness feeling in your body and stuff. So paying attention to those types of things and working with them and allowing, for yourself to move through them and stuff. So with this full moon and this lunation, it's really important for us not to ignore the cosmic shifts that are happening and the shifts that are mirrored in all the upheaval on the earth. And w- we are witnessing record breaking floods, fires, extreme events around the globe. um the flooding, I kind of had a feeling because of Neptune. Things, I mean, some of them we're not even hearing about. They're not in the mainstream media. They're not talking about them in the mainstream media. So there's so much that is unfolding in and around us, and the chaos and the disruption and stuff. And that's also a reflection of our own selves, of whatever the chaos is going on in our own lives, and maybe the chaos of what we are feeling within our own lives, right? And I did put out to buy me a coffee. So if anybody really wants to support the Guru Mama, greatly, greatly appreciate it right now. And stepping forward in that and helping me out, that would be absolutely fabulous. Uh, yeah, there's just a lot stacking up here. Um, and it's really hard not to ignore them. So, oh my god, that's so funny. Uh, and this is where you're gonna find with all these human tragedies right now, where how is it impacting, even though it might be far away, but it might be impacting you in different ways, right? So really do a check-in on yourself on all of that. When we aren't in a direct path, our job is to send love and compassion and to fold their hearts in our embrace while they grieve and rebuild, especially those who've lost so much. Um, Down in Texas, there's more flooding to happen in Texas, more craziness. I mean, it's right around where the X marks the spot too, so there's a lot coming down in that area. And I feel like this is where we really have to find our true strength in this world. Um, yeah, I know I feel like I'm talking in riddles right now because I don't want to sound like I'm um I don't want to sound like, oh, poor me, blah blah. No, it's not poor me. It's just I know there are limits that my body can go through, and I think I'm hitting some of the limits right now. And I just have to trust and come into faith and allow myself to put myself within the mercy of the universe and say, okay, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Because certain things just aren't working. And again, this is where it's like, I know my limitations with my body too, on what my body can and cannot do right now. And one thing I know I can't do, even if I went, yeah, there's just limitations on what my body can and cannot do right now. So we will see. So let's pull some cards. Let's not talk about anybody have a question out there. If they have a question for me about any of the energies that are happening, any of the craziness that's unfolding right now. I did a live on TikTok today. So it was my fifth live. And I think at that time I had over 1,000 people. But I don't think I had too many people on my live. Yeah, it is wonky. Um, yeah, 'cause yeah. I know if um, for me, when things like this, it hits me in the chest area, and it hurts. It really begins to hurt, and it hurts all along in not and it's not really hard to breathe, but I can feel like, okay, don't push this and take your time with it. And it goes all the way up, and I can feel it sometimes tingling in the back of my teeth. And so it just feels weird. It's a weird feeling in my body. And I feel here comes the eight. Eight has shown up quite a bit. So eight of cups coming in. And the eight of cups is like you've set everything up, right? And you've done everything you can do. And now it's time to walk away and let it go. There's not much else you can do. And when that happens, that can be a very difficult piece, a difficult thing to do. You've done everything, but it's growth. There's sacrifice there. You're shedding the unnecessary pressures of life, and you may find yourself seeking a more spiritual path. And so you're just letting everything go. And that's where we're at. And I feel we're at that as a collective. But it's very hard to let go of the old ways of this world and how we are wanting to move forward, because there's so much goes through our mind, right? um because we're like, okay, if I'm really walking away, what does that mean um to my family, to to my mortgage or to my car payments or whatever it is. It's like, when you say to people, you just got to walk away. You can't go that way anymore. um and that's the whole thing that happened 5 years ago, and telling people not to fall into the narrative and walk away. But it's when you're selling people that, and it's like, well, I'm going to lose my home, I could lose my marriage, I could, I remember counseling one woman, and she worked at the lab in here in Calgary at the foothills, and she called me crying. And so we had a chat and stuff. Her family was like, "No, you go get the shot. You go get the elixir. You go do this." And she goes, "It doesn't feel right." And she goes, "Everything that they're saying doesn't make sense to me as a lab tech." And I said, so I told her what I knew. I told her everything, and she goes, "Do you think I should take this?" I said, "No." I said, "No." I said, "I would use being pregnant or whatever. You don't want to put anything like that in your body at this time. You know you're going to be fine." And she basically, even, her husband was like so adamant and so mad at her for not doing that. And she had the baby. She called me after she had the baby and everything. And she said, "He's still mad. He still really wants me to go through with it." I said, "Hold off as long as you like, hold off, like really hold off." And she has. I've talked to her again, and she said she has, and now her husband has a lot of medical problems. They're claiming long-term COVID, and I'm just like, "Oh my god." I mean, there's no such thing as long-term flu or long-term pneumonia, but there's long-term COVID, and I think it's just the after of everything else going on. But that's all everything, like, that shedding of unnecessary pressures in life, shedding everything that's changing in the world right now. And we're walking away from it. We're wanting to create something new and different. And sometimes the structure, yeah, I got the star upside down. Sometimes we don't know what that balance is going to look like. We don't understand the whole balance of it all. And that's what brings in the scariness of it, right? That, when that's the self-doubt, that's where we question, the ego really comes in strong, where it's saying that, maybe this isn't the right decision, but don't be afraid to ask for the guidance. Don't be afraid to ask, which way you should be going. And I know for myself, I've been asking that quite a bit, and what I should be doing, and what direction um, to take. And because my life is my spiritual work, it really is. And doing this work is just part of it. Doing this work is all of it, actually. So this is where you might feel um, that you're wanting to look for a new spark of inspiration and trying to find that new spark of inspiration. And in it all, like in trying to find it, creates that self-doubt because maybe you're not seeing it right away. Maybe you're not feeling it, or you're feeling it, but you're just not understanding the whole feeling of it. So you're walking into a new direction. You're wanting to go, but there's so much doubt that you're feeling that you really do have to ask for guidance. Ask for the divine to come forth. Yeah, because the information isn't coming the way that you want it to come. The information isn't flying the way you want it to fly. It's not moving in the direction or as fast as you want it to go. And it's almost like you want to bypass whatever's happening and bypass those feelings. And this is where it's like, nope, can't bypass. Can't bypass. You got to be in it. You got to feel it. And this is where when surrender by other elements such as watery cups, or fiery wands, this is where we got the watery cups. So this is where we have to surrender. This is where we have to face. We're being faced to free our souls, and we're being faced with freeing our souls, and then with emotional expensive, this is really bringing up a lot of emotions that we don't want. I mean, we're in a Cancer sun, right? So that's emotional. And then with the Capricorn moon, we're feeling like we really want to ground things. We really want to really solidify the direction that we want to go into this new world, and be able to understand it a lot more. But it's being discerning is important, and having that discernment. Um, Sometimes it's like, we might find disappointment may occur with this. Others might be disappointed in us. Others may not like what we're doing or the direction that we're taking. But someone who is full of great ideas and plans have difficulty manifesting them into reality. And this is where it's like a need to review any necessary steps. So looking at the steps that you're taking, reviewing them, and that could be that, okay, maybe I need to just look at one thing, not a thousand things. Maybe I only need to look at 3 things today, and that's it. And give yourself a time limit on it. I'm only looking at these 3 things. Whew. I'm gonna give myself 2 hours. That's it, and I'm gonna take 2 hours to work on it, and that's all. So that's where the energies are, and um, and to be kind to yourself right now, because there is a lot going on, and you might feel somewhat distraught, and that's okay. But you got to be honest with yourself with everything. So yeah, that's where we're at, baby. Pretty cray cray with it. Pretty crazy. What else is going on? Yeah, watch your nervous system. There's an astrologer. His name is Cameron Allen, and um, he's an astrologer, but he works with the health side of astrology, and he's reminding us that, like, the Gemini, Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, the air and the fire signs, and this is connected to the nervous system and the electricity. So, um, if you're going at a like a pace of life, like, the pace of life and stimulates will only increase from here. So, if you're finding any straining on your body and mind, if we don't care for them consciously, this could be very profound. So, this is about slowing down, protecting your peace. Don't get swept up in the whirlwind of activities and the information. I've found, like, m- many opportunities over the last few weeks to practice, as for me personally, I can really feel the buzzing. The other night I couldn't sleep, and my legs were just like, it was like electricity going through my legs. It was crazy. Um, Finding, what's essential, to give yourself. This is to prioritize yourself. Gently stretching, reducing any stress, listening to some very soothing music before you go to bed, could be very helpful and stuff. And looking at um, any potential stressors that are in your environment, and seeing what can sort of, bring down the energies for you. Uh, your nose breathing, so alternating nostrils, breathing in. So you breathe in one, breathe out the other, and then switch it. And doing that. And you could do like, 4 rounds on each side. Breathe in. You could breathe in 4, hold 4, and then let out 6. And do that 4 rounds on one side, and then switch, do 4 rounds on the other side. Clarity, clarity can come in. And feeling, if you're feeling the pressures, maybe try adding even one calming practice a day. So whatever calming practice you need a day can really help with that. So with Uranus and Gemini, I feel this is we're heading into new territory. Unless you're born 84 years ago, um, you've never lived through this. So, and going through this. And right now is one of the moments where our faith can feel shaky. And but remember that there is a higher plan at work here, and there's a divine order that is at play here. And even if we can't always see it clearly, and that's what I keep reminding myself, that yes, there is a divine plan here. Yes, there is something happening here. And this cosmic energy, allowing ourselves with these gentle practices and practical ways to help us to meet this cosmic highway that is unfolding for us and stepping into this cosmic craziness that's going on. And hey, Lexi, this is very, very important. I've said before, those with a lot of Virgo energy because of the South Node and that. And now my Gemini people with Uranus coming into Gemini, you might find feeling a little scattered or feeling a little bit overwhelmed even more. So my air signs, might be feeling this a lot. And that's the same way with, when you have major planets that are going to be in your sign for a long time, it's important to know and understand your placement and where those placements are in your chart. I've been working with the solar arc charts, which are they are just phenomenal. Just the information I receive from them, and especially if you're going through something particular in your life at this time, and maybe there's a lot of drama, maybe there's health problems, maybe there's a work crisis or something. I can look into that solar arc chart and look at it. And I also bringing in Mary Magdalene asteroid. There's an asteroid called Magdalena, which is Mary Magdalene, named after Mary Magdalene, and it is a fabulous, oh my gosh, that energy from that giving me an understanding of the divine feminine energy is really, really cool. And where it was when you were born and where it is now, it really it gives you a lot more, another layer to the information of what's happening in your chart, and how that reflects upon your earth walk, right? And how to utilize that energy as you're walking through. So it's pretty damn cool when you're looking at different areas in the chart, and this is where the outer planets right now, for people to look where it's landing in your chart. And if you're not sure, there's different places that you can go, and you can get your chart for free. And if not, or if you want a full reading and stuff, you can book with me, um, and get a reading done, or get a moon reading, which they're on. Yeah, today's the last day for the sale, July the 7th, so they're $44. One thing I love, and which I've started to do with the moon readings, is that I'm giving them a script of what I've said. Like, I record it and everything else, and then give them a little script with their journal prompts and information on different crystals that came in for them and stuff like that. So I find the journal prompts and stuff, and what I'm writing out, it's just another layer for their moon readings, and I love it. I haven't heard from anybody else what they think, but I'm enjoying doing it because it's giving, hopefully, a new layer um, for the client, to help them upon their journey, because sometimes it's nice to have a written piece, right? So you can read or you can print out and work with, along with the recording. So things like that is adding to it. So if you're wanting the readings for the rest of the summer, which will be 5 readings, so you'll get the Capricorn reading, and New moon, yeah, you'll get 5 readings with it for $200. So if you're interested. So, and any all of that, I mean, I gotta say when people support me, I'm over the moon. I am over the moon, in doing what I do, and because I just love it. I do, and every time I find something new when it comes to the astrology or adding different elements into the astrology, oh my, it gets me all excited. I do, I just get so excited with it, and finding that, momentum of doing it, right? So so the Magdalene, I should say, is just some information on whoops, let me pull it up here. My brain is gone like a sieve. There's so much information coming in on working with this divine feminine, and the divine feminine with the solar arc is just like, oh my god. So this is so what it is um so working with the divine Mary Magdalene, and she was called one of the apostles and a mystic, a teacher, and one who saw Christ rise, right? When the others didn't. She represents a spiritual intimacy. Her lineage goes back to working with Isis, right? She has a very strong lineage with very strong, vibrant goddesses. And it wasn't until I think was it I have it written down. Anyways, till I think it was in the 5th century, a pope changed it for her to be a prostitute through the patriarchal system, which was quite interesting. And before that, she held quite a lot of power, right? And a lot of sacredness because of her healing, sensuality, spiritual devotion, and her radical love. This is where she walked a mighty path, and she was a healer, a truth teller, a mystic, and she embodied that divine feminine energy unapologetically. So the asteroid 318 is the asteroid that I use, and this is where bringing in that asteroid helps to extend um, more information, right, into the energies and the boldness of her. The other part of working with Mary Magdalene is the Lectio Divina, and the Lectio Divina is a very beautiful um, way of praying, a way of bringing in the energies into your body, and it's a type of meditation, and using that meditation and bringing in that love of the Lectio Novena, right? So when we do, here, just going to write it out in better terms. Can you send me that info for that? For the Lectio Divina? So the Lectio Divina, it's to contemplative practice, and it dates back to early Christians and monasteries, and it's a way of reading sacred texts. So if you have a sacred text that you're reading, not just with the mind, but with the heart and the body and the soul. So it's not about analyzing, it's not about a debate or a doctrine, it's about communion and listening for the voice of the divine within. So taking a sacred text and allowing yourself to read it. So the Lectio is to read a short passage of a sacred text gently, one phrase, one line, and you let the words land, not rush to interpret them, but just receive them. And then a reflective, or the meditato, which is the reflect. So you take this moment to reflect on the words and the phrases. What's drawing your attention? What feels alive or uncomfortable? So you let that stir within you, and then how do you respond? You begin to speak with the divine. What does your soul want to say? Like, if you're reading something and if it's not sitting right with you, you can, and you're reflecting, you're asking, and it's sitting really oddly within your body, and you're feeling that's the time to say, you know, to be honest and heartfelt with your response. This is like this is a prayer, a dialogue that you're having with the divine, and saying, wow, this is really stirring up a lot of fear within inside me. It's stirring up a lot of doubt within inside me, or shame, or whatever it is. And as you release all the words, and you simply rest in the presence, and you dwell in the silence, in the open space, this is where kenonesis meets the divine. So this, when you practice Lectio Divina, particularly with Magdalene tradition, you're not just reading the scriptures, you are allowing yourself to read the Spirit. It's not about what you know, it's about what you are willing to feel, and what you are willing to let go and to be filled. You can, if you want to, you can look into the Gnostic Gospel of Mary, or any of the Gnostic writings, and the poetry, or even your own journal entries. So if you've written anything in your journal lately, taking a moment, rereading that. I mean, it's sacred. It's sacred writing that you are doing. And this is where, um, when you're doing that, to really um, embrace it and bring it within you, right? And I feel when you start to do that, it really changes your molecular self, and how you are wanting to respond to things, right? So bringing the Lectio Divina and a Magdalene practice, I feel is another level to devotion, another level to our spirituality. And when we're doing this, and when we're entering into the sacredness, and the sacredness of working with um, a divine being, and one of the divine beings that I really love to work with is Mary Magdalene. Um, and she is such a beautiful one that encourages us to have trust and faith. Right? I mean, she's one that's been dragged through the mud. So, so now, one of the things with hers, with Mary, like, she does have her own Gnostic Bible. Yeah, it's I had to look it up, so it's because it was bugging me. So in 591 CE, Pope Gregory publicly conflated Mary Magdalene with an unnamed sinful woman who anoints Jesus' feet. Mary of Bethany, sister of Martha and Lazarus, and the genetic image of repentant and prostitution. So this is a false merger of shaping her image for over 1,000 years, right? So this one person, one man decided to change it. What else is new, right? So she was a direct relationship with Christ, needing no priests, no temples. She was a spiritual teacher in her own right. She represented the sacred feminine, embodied wisdom, sensual, and faithfulness. And to discredit her was a control of the narrative, right? And if we can control the narrative, which we can see happening, then we can control the history. We can control the information that's coming out. The discovery of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene was in the 19th century in Nag Hammadi in and the Berlin Codex text, and the Gospel of Mary gives us her voice. And this gospel reveals deep mystical teachings. This is where every nature, every modeled form, every creature exists in and with each other. Now, in her Gnostic Bible, there's the first section, I think about 10 pages are missing. They don't know where they are. They whether somebody took them apart, but anyways, they're not there. Mary, she teaches that sin is not a moral failing, it is a lack of connection to one's true spiritual nature. She's a prophet of integration, not punishment. It's to look at our faults and our failings and really um, be honest with them, getting to that root. One of the things for those who've taken my Journey Club was questioning and asking the question, why? Like, why do I feel that way? Why is that? Why? What is the why? And asking it over and over again, and a new answer comes up until you get to the root of your why, the root of your fear. What is that fear, right? And why are you fearful? Like, what is that fear? Why does that keep coming up for you? And writing that down is important. Now, I know, a lot of you don't like to write things down, but I'm going to say I'm going to encourage you to do that. I feel like it's reclaiming, the divine feminine is the embodiment of the divine feminine, the sacred union, love and healing. This is where mystical teachings come in. She's seen as an equal and beloved companion of Jesus. People didn't like that in that time, and in that, of 2,000 years ago. And even today, women in that area are not thought of as equal. Even today, women are stoned, right, for speaking out, within the Islam religion. Um, if you committed adultery, if you, uh, where somebody said you did something, a man said you did that, and you didn't, you really don't have a say, right? So this is where, she came in. She was an equal. And she was, I think, I'd say she'd be an anointed counterpart, not in scandal, but in sacredness and that divine love, that feminine wisdom, that long burn, you know, within her. So she is the archetype. She carries sacred gifts for fear of rejection. She walks a spiritual truth of intimacy and truth telling, reclaiming their power through embodiment and creativity and inner devotion. And she whispers to us that you are the beloved, you are not broken, and you are sacred, and your voice matters. And I feel like when I bring her energy into doing the astrology, it is bringing in a whole nother piece to it, right? A whole nother um of information of the spiritual richness and the history of her, right? And I feel like this is something that is happening now. I feel like this is happening more. Um, I feel more of this sacredness and this coming into this walk is becoming more prolific and getting us to not be quiet, right? And like Mary, um, she's persecuted, right? And she probably the boys probably didn't like that Jesus liked her. I mean, come on. She probably smelled a lot better. But that's the whole thing, is when we are coming into this um frequencies and this new energy that's coming forth, it's really getting us to look into a lot of the sacredness and the sacred texts that are coming in. I did a little ritual with her, and ritual steps, and this is where coming into a place of allowing yourself to into the breath. So allowing yourself to close your eyes and taking some slow breaths and feel yourself seated as both the priestess and a seeker. And as you're doing that, you're calling in um, Magdalene's flame, the keeper of truth and holy love, and guiding you and to guide your radiant heart. And this is also where you can gaze into a mirror and you look softly into the mirror. And I am a reflection of divine truth. I am love. I'm beloved. This is where you're, allowing yourself to come into that sacredness, and you can have your holy water or your moon water. And then you just bless yourself. You anoint your third eye. You anoint your heart and your womb, right? And if you have like some distilled rose water or something, you can use that, and bringing that energy in, bringing in roses into your home. And then you can make rose water with your rose petals. Um, and just with the roses, you claiming your voice. It is, my pleasure, my joy, my knowing. I vow to live my truth and beauty. And you light the candle and envision a rose blooming in your heart, allowing for that blossom to come through. And as you light and envision this, you feel the petals blossom, unfurling within with courage and beauty and radiance, and taking some time to write to Mary Magdalene and asking the questions, right? And allowing the information to come in, and bringing in that beautiful rituals really helps you to step into um, some beautiful energies, and especially as we're coming to a full moon in Capricorn, right? And I feel like this is very important for us to be rooted in this love and these aspects that are coming in, and bringing in the joy and the radiance and the magic, and channel that divine feminine through creation. So her ancestral feminine lines through art, storytelling, fierce love, being bold when you were told not to be bold, to come in with beauty and grace and sacred balance. So, this is a very beautiful divineness and a beautiful energy to be working with. Magdalene, she's 13 degrees in Libra. That's where she is in my chart. She's at 13 degrees Libra, in the fifth house. And this is where she comes in with the fifth house, which is love, creativity, joy, and children. Libra is partnership, harmony, justice, and beauty. So this is where, for me, when I'm embracing her, is the priestess of love, one who teaches the divine union through heart-led connections, right? Sacred artist, your creative arts, my writing, my readings, rituals, performances. I carry that frequency with me when I'm doing this. And when I was looking into that energy and I was working with it, and I'm just like, wow, the truth teller in relationships. I mean, when people come and ask me, especially about relationships, when people come and ask me about relationships, and people know how I feel about um, twin flames and that, I just sort of like, okay, this is the honest truth. You ask me about your relationship, I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to tell you what the divine's telling me, and I'm going to tell you. And a lot of times people don't like the information. They don't like what I'm telling them because they want to keep that relationship. And I feel like when anybody asks me, if you've been married for like 30 something years and you come to me and ask me about your relationship, I'm going to ask you why you're asking me about your relationship. Really. If you're questioning your relationship after 30 fucking years, then you better start questioning, what's going on inside of you. Are you committed into this relationship? Because why are you asking? So a lot of people will say, "Well, I'm just curious." Curious about what? Like, I'm sorry, been married for 30 years. What are you curious about? What do you want to know about? What more do you want to know about within your relationship? Is there a fear there that you're afraid to ask that person that you've made a commitment to? Because that's a huge one within relationships. A lot of people get so fearful to ask questions, right? To ask what's going on because you're afraid that they're not going to love you anymore. That 30 years was wasted. I mean, we do have divorces after 30 years. So there's something there that people have to look at if you're asking about a relationship after so many years. What's going on? Even I would say if you're 30 years is a long time. I've been married 37, be 38 next year. Um, I feel like there's, when you start really asking questions, if you're in a committed relationship and you start asking about your relationship, that's where it's like, okay, are you having, this is where because people like, are you not talking to the person? Are you still together? Are you thinking about divorce? Are you wanting to leave? Like, if that's the direction, because there's 2 roads here, if that's the direction that you wanna take, then there's things that you have to get yourself in order to do, right? There's practical things you have to do. There's mental things you have to do, and there's spiritual things you have to do. If you are thinking of walking away or ending a commitment that you no longer feel committed to, that's perfectly okay. But you got to be honest with yourself, right? There could still be love within that relationship, right? Because you were there for so long, whether it's even 5 years, 4 years, there's still some kind of love there that was there. But if you feel like this is no longer working for you and that you need to move on, then you have to be honest with yourself. It's a hard one to do because you get the other thing too, within that love of self, is that honesty of saying, I can't be in this relationship anymore. And that's a hard one too because there could be financial issues. You might be reliant on that person financially, right? So there might be something within the mundane world that you are really, to walk away, that means I'm walking away with nothing. But so did Tina Turner, although she did have her name, you know, and a voice. Not saying that you don't have a name and a voice, but I mean, this is like, okay, I'm going to be committed to what I need to do. And that's where Mary Magdalene comes in. It's like, what is your true commitment? What is your true commitment to self and God? Because that's going to have a big play in all your relationships. And if that relationships that you do have don't have the same kind of commitment to truth, to self, and truth to God, then yeah, then there are a lot of questions, right? Some marriages end up being a marriage of convenience, right? Because it's just convenient. It's just easier to be with one another to than to split up. But then you got to find out, okay, what's my truth there? What is that I, wanting to create? So, anyways, so finding and to restore balance. That is part of what I do. And with my Magdalene in Libra, truth is revealed through beauty, grace, and sacred balance. Um, the one thing about being in Libra, Libras are ones that if you know, you know. That's it. You just know. And coming into the sacred sexuality and devotional poetry and temples of art. So, can you see where mine is and where she is in my I can. Are you gonna pay me? Too funny. Let's see. I'm just giving you a hard time. Oops. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Sorry. What? You almost fell over. Don't want you to fall over. What are you at? Stampede? Falling over on me? Just pulling up the chart. One second here. I have to find the asteroid. That's what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. Got her up. Ooh. Wow. That's interesting. Yours is in Scorpio, right on your ascendant in the first house. Let's copy. And it's conjunct the AC. Let's see, conjunct the AC, and you have Neptune there. Neptune's at 28 degrees. So it's not really conjunct in Neptune there. We do have an opposition to Saturn with this. Okay. So a lot to do. And with the Scorpio one, really, is like you're walking in a presence that you don't really have to explain anything to anybody. People can feel it from you. So you carry the energy of the sacred, the priestess, the beloved one, the one who knows the way. Being in Scorpio, that means you know the way to the underworld and back again. This is very transformational. And this is where she comes in to have you look at your shadow, and not afraid of pain or depth, and to coming into that pain or depth. So the truth speaker, uncomfortable truths are medicine. And that's what she's coming in to teach you, is to teach you to be able to teach, to be able to say the things that are uncomfortable, to be able to say those things. So healing through release, intensity, and coming into deep emotional honesty. So this is where, people may project onto you as they did to her, and seeing too much or not enough, when what they are really seeing is their own shadow and their light. So a lot of people will project upon you. Um, so there's a lot of deep emotional healing and psychic insight with her being there. It's a sacred embodiment. There's sexuality, of course, it's Scorpio. There's power, there's devotion, and also understanding what the boundaries are, right? And looking at those boundaries, right? So this is, I think there's like a past life connection to spiritual lineages when it comes to uh, temple priestess, mystics, and persecuted healers. And especially being in that first house in Scorpio, it's how you, um, how you see yourself. Like how do you see yourself with this, right? And do you see yourself, are you portraying the truth of that, of being the mystic and allowing yourself to step into being that mystic? And that could be a hard one too, because I feel like her this asteroid being in the first house on your AC is what you are here to rise up to, what you are rising to, what you are rising in and learning about. Um, and anything in Scorpio sometimes, and in the first house, is not always easy because you are meant to be seen, and sometimes maybe are you hiding away from who you need to be. It doesn't matter what your occupation is, doesn't matter where you are stepping into, but that's the whole thing, is like looking at, and I'm just looking at one aspect in the chart, right? Only one thing in the chart, and this is saying, this is looking at your what is that truth? What is it that you really want to look at in within self, right? And stepping into it. Scorpio pushes the boundaries, right? And when you have energies in Scorpio, it's going to push you in some way, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And it is that devotion, it's stepping into that devoutness. And as you know, as Mary walked, she walked in and she got slammed. People didn't like her, like, or they liked her, or like, even I was watching anyways, I was watching a show, and the first thing that they portrayed her as was this prostitute that was filled with demons, right? So I think that's everything that everybody portrayed upon her, is their demons, their insecurities, their lack, right? Comes on to them. And then that person carries it as if it's their own. How do people don't like me either? How do people don't like me either? How do people don't like you? Well, people probably don't like you for a lot of reasons. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't like you, Charlene, but sometimes people don't like people. They don't like you because you own a house. They don't like you because who you're married to. They don't like you because you seem to get everything you want or whatever. That's what they see, right? So they see that, and that's what they, so that for you might portray guilt. That might portray, feeling I shouldn't have this, or I should be poor and destitute and then I'll be better off, right? So that's what people look at. And that's the whole thing about when you're stepping into your especially your sacred feminine, um and your truth. And this is where, it's not about being a feminist, how they come out, oh, I'm a feminist. I'm like, I think the idea of that back in the 60s, and that was, the idea started off okay, but I think it got really distorted and really got women fucked up. And it and misaligned with truth of their sacredness, right? So when you're stepping into the sacredness of that divineness, of that divine feminine, that's allowing yourself to say, yeah, my role here in this world is children, is birthing. I mean, I have all the parts to it. I'm not saying that every woman has to have a baby, but I'm just saying there is a part of that. And I think this stepping into the divine feminine is not being afraid to allow yourself to do that. I mean, we're seeing a decrease in the population because women aren't having babies. Men are afraid of women, you know, um, and that's because they're afraid of being their strong masculine self, because women are wanting to outdo them. Like, why do you want to outdo a man? Let him be a man and let yourself be a woman, right? You don't have to be physically stronger than him, but a lot of women want to do that for whatever. And sometimes I feel within the sacred feminine, I think a lot of times um this the masculine energy pushes out this divine feminine within a woman, and she loses her way in many ways. She might have all the fame, the money, whatever, but there's something there that in the true essence of the soul and the spirit is divinely missing. And that's in the spiritual sense and coming into that spiritual divineness. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's working with her in is bringing in that beautiful weave and allowing yourself to weave it in many ways, right? And how you want to offer this, how you want to work with it is up to you. So, do you still do mediumship readings? So sorry, Sally. Yeah, I do. I do still do mediumship readings when people do ask me. It's there. It's always there. Spirits and ghosts are always around me. I see them. Um, I love doing ghost tours. And, I love watching spooky things, not watching crazy movies on that, but, I will watch a haunting or something like that on, some guy doing a ghost, investigation or something like that. I love doing that. So, yeah, I still do it. I do lean a lot more over to the astrology and working with, the spiritual love of life work and really wanting to guide people more into the spiritual love of life. And, if mediumship comes in, it comes in, you know. So thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. So yeah. So that's where that is in your chart. I find it interesting because you do have that opposition to Saturn. And that opposition to Saturn is, yeah, like Saturn works with karma, right? So an opposition with karma, it is an opposition. So that could cause a lot of um, tension about wounding, sacred responsibility. Um, this is where, being that truth teller, the priestess, the shadow work, the transformation, the identity of your beauty and your presence. So, and Saturn, and especially Saturn, your Saturn's in Taurus, this is about boundaries, authority, but also restriction, judgment, and karmic tests. So, knowing your self worth, embodiment, stability. Seventh house is relationships, projection, and others. This is where, and especially with Saturn deals with the patriotic system. It rules Capricorn, right? So this is where being judged, punished for expressing your sacred feminine, just like you know, uh, Mary did. She was historically persecuted for being who she was. Authority figures, partners trying to contain or control or correct you. The intensity, where you might find that you went through some of that in your earlier life, but now you're more able to stand in that power. Usually when women go through menopause, and that's where women start to question a lot in their life is in around their 40s. Same with men, but women particularly, because you're especially about 45 or so, you're coming to a Uranus opposition. So there is questioning: where am I going? What am I doing? um you're coming into a quarter square with Saturn. You are there's a lot of energy that's coming in and changes within the body that are happening. So standing more fully and present within who you are um can bring in that evolutionary change for you. And, with Scorpio is always about spiritual truth and wanting to have spiritual truth. It's going to get you to the basis of what it is spiritually, right? So it's ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the death and resurrection. And then you have Taurus, which for you is the opposite. Taurus is about social approval and stability. I want stability. Where Scorpio may say, well, fuck the stability, burn the fucking bridge and let's get on with it. And Taurus is going, no, I can't burn that bridge. I got to keep the bridge. Keep the bridge. And Scorpio's coming with his torches. No, we're going to go and do this. But then it's when it comes to your first house, how am I being seen? It's ruled by Aries. So Aries is also ruled by Mars. How am I going forward with all of this? Aries is fire. How am I ruling? What is my passion? How is my movement with this? Am I moving? This is where the I am is. And coming towards the I am. And this is truth or comfort. Where you got Taurus. Taurus is going to choose comfort. Scorpio doesn't always choose comfort. It'll stay in its house. It'll stay in a house that's fucking falling apart around them. They're not going to move, right? But this is where it comes in with where are my boundaries to all of this, and how does that look, right? And embodiment of power or silence. So the path of the mystic or the path of a safe woman. That's the whole thing. Is like when you have that, I that opposition is like where I want safety and security, and coming in with her being in Scorpio in the first, I was just like, no, I need to come into my truth, no matter how that disrupts my life. And for me, mine's in Libra, fifth house. It's, my Scorpio's in the fifth house, my Libra's in the fifth house. This is where it's like, how is my truth? How am I coming into that? Right? How am I standing firm within my heart? And, and it's in opposition, and mine's in an opposition to Aries, which is in opposition to where my Jupiter is. Basically, the only thing I got planet that's in fire for me. So Jupiter, how am I expanding? How am I going forward with this? Or am I not allowing myself to go forward with this? And Jupiter, the thing is with Libra's ruled by Venus. So Venus is another one who wants to have safety and security. What is my safety and security? My safety and security, my Venus is at 29 degrees or 28 degrees Scorpio. Not much safety and security in that. She doesn't like it. Right? Scorpio's very pushy, wants to get out there, wants to look at me, see me, right? Flaunting yourself, being bold, being forward. Right. And so that's why I find it's, when you're looking at things in your chart, or you're looking, or even if you're going, let's say you're going to start a business or you're going to start something. How does that look like in your chart? Is that a good business to start? Maybe that's not an alignment for you, but you keep on trying it. I asked that question. Is this I keep trying this alignment with spirit. Is this what I'm supposed to do? And I put my chart in, and I got one of those things online, and they're like, no, you can't basically it's the same thing that I've always been told. You can't avoid doing what you're doing. This is part of your calling. You can go into hiding, but um it'll cause you a lot of problems within your health and body. So, which is, every time I go and work for somebody, it causes havoc. Something happens, like, whether it's I work too much, and I go to exhaustion, and whatever it is, right? So but sometimes you just fight it. You fight it. You don't want to um you don't want to listen to God. I want to listen to you, God. I want to do it myself. I know better than you do. Wrong. Wrong. You do not. You do not. You think you do, but you do not. So, yeah, it's really interesting, and it's really interesting when you're coming into that meditation and coming into those times of allowing yourself to have those reflections with the divine. I fight all the time with my guides. Yeah. And the thing is, for me, when it comes to listening to my divine, um, I know what I know. I know I know what I know. I Yeah, I know what I know and I know what I need to do. And but the one thing for me that is difficult is that stepping out and wanting to get to people. I want to get to people and getting out there, right? But I always find obstacle or there's an obstacle. Do I put that obstacle in my way or is it divine putting the obstacle in my way? What are those obstacles that I have to overcome? Mine always comes down to money and finances. And that's probably why I always go back to the muggle world and into, working in the muggle world. But if I trust enough, will it all work out? But then of course fear steps in. And what's that fear? Well, fear is because my electricity is being cut off or my cable's being cut off or I'm being evicted, right? And this is where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore, right? I gotta feed myself. I gotta keep the roof over my head. So it is sometimes it is a fight and a struggle. I haven't gotten um the Louise Hayes wand to ding me on the head and say ding. I've had a lot of people approach me and say, "Hey, how about if you write a book?" Sure. Well, I'll help you and you pay me $1,000. Like, no, I'm not paying you $1,000. I don't have $1,000 to pay you to help me write a book. Or I want to promote you. Okay, promote me, but I can't pay you to promote me, right? So that's the whole thing. It's like a catch 22. So this is where I've always looked at what can I do? Um how can I create the things I create and post the things I post? You know, so stepping into doing what I'm doing, I guess. Anyways, on that note, if you are wanting to join me for the Sacred Summer series, it's a self-directed series. You get your July booklet. August booklet is almost done, and you'll receive your August booklet. And each day has some different prompts and rituals and journal prompts and information, what crystals and things like that to bring into your day. And you don't have to like it's self-directed. So some days you might miss, other days you might, one week you might be full on and you're doing it every day, another next week you may not be, and that's okay. So, and it's stepping into a time of just allowing yourself at least 5 minutes to take a question from the journal prompts and writing about it. Taking 5 minutes and just saying, "Okay, I'm gonna do this little ritual," or, "I'm gonna put out the moon water for the full moon," which, I would advise people to do. This full moon is really powerful, and it'd be a beautiful moon to work with and get some moon water. So doing that can be a very positive thing. So you can get July and August for $75. We do have the series coming up for the fall and the Sacred Fall series. And I have it, the Sacred Fall series is really allowing ourselves to come into the harvest. And it is about embracing the alchemy within and taking that time to embrace the alchemy within um, and the crone harvest. So, the different things I have for the Sacred Fall series is mystical and spiritual. So, the Veil of the Flame, the Sacred Descent, Autumn Alchemy, and Into the Mystic, the Fall Journey. Crone Wisdom and Seasonal Depth, and the Sacred Smoke and Scarlet Leaves. And I have for it too, one of the little outlines I did was there's two, and I was sort of like one I say with a touch of a magic with a touch of magic or witchiness. So the witch wisdom, the fall circle, the harvest moon magic, and an autumn spell book that I will be bringing in with the fall series is going to have a spell book. I've done a spell book before. I love doing spell books are prayers, right? So doing more, things to come in. I feel, the fall is really conjuring time and coming into that conjuring time. We haven't even gone through summer yet, but summer is really coming in and igniting your flame, right? So you're igniting your flame of what it is, your desires, and that of what you are wanting to create as you can come into the fall to begin to conjure them. And then you enter into the sleepy winter, and that allows for you to dream even more as everything that you've planted within the seeds and allowing them to grow as we come back into the spring to allow for the fullness to come forth again. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about doing all of this. And if you're wanting to join me for any of that, definitely let me know. The fall series will be $100 for the 3 months. This series, the July August, is $75. Yeah, and stuff. So yeah, and if you want a reading. So, anyways, I'm gonna send you guys out with so much love. It's already 8:30. I'm gonna go get ready and just go put my feet up and just take a time out. And where's my dog? Oh, my dog's over there. She fell asleep on Eddie's stuff, which would really piss him off, my son who's staying with me, but that's where she is. Pretty funny. Uh, you guys have a great night. Thank you. Thank you for coming in tonight and being with me and asking questions and being a part of the community. So have a blessed one, everybody. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over you in all that you say and all you be and all you do. Blessed be everybody. Good night.